Here we have another video from Meenan Transmissions. Two locations to serve you, one in Willow Grove, one in Lansdale. Be reached online at meenantransmissions.com. Transmission we're looking at today is actually an O1m. It's out of a 2002 Volkswagen Cabriolet. The vehicle, the original complaint with the vehicle was that it was stalling at intersections and basically coming, seemed like the transmission torque converter was locking up. So the first things we did, we dropped the pan, and in the pan, it's pretty apparent that we had a internal component mechanical failure, and you can see thrust bearings located in the pan there. So that material can very easily get ingested into the valve body and hang up control valves, which could result in a lockup clutch not releasing when it should. So that thrust bearing that failed is actually located between the sun gear on the sun shell and the sun gear that rides inside the planet carrier. Here's the one side of the thrust bearing there. So what's happening since that thrust bearing got pulverized and destroyed, now you have these two components, this surface here and this surface here, that are interacting with one another. So it just machined its way into it. Typically there's a small gap or space, and that small gap and space is created by that thrust bearing. So just to show where those components are located, this is the exploded view of the transmission. Here is the sun gear that is actually located. Number 614 is the sun gear that's inside there, and the other sun gear is located on the sun shell. Number 622, that sun gear there. The thrust bearing is, it's kind of tough to tell, but unit 242 is probably the bearing, and 241 may be the washer there. So anyway, this material got ingested into the gear train, so we're going to need to replace gear train components. Another interesting thing we saw, this is the pinion assembly for the final drive, the pinion gear, and that shaft, there's a seal that rides there that separates the gear oil. In other words, this side of the seal has gear oil, this side has transmission fluid. So we want to make sure that seal has proper sealing integrity to keep the two separated. One side of the transmission has transmission fluid, the other side has gear oil. But in addition, externally, we saw this harness is not in good shape. We can see that there's some green there. So this harness has been frayed for a little bit, so we're going to want to replace that harness. Very common on older vehicles, being an O2, and I seem to see it on European vehicles frequently, where the insulation material that's used sometimes over time will degrade and can start actually coming off. I've seen Mercedes products where the wires have, all the insulation just starts flaking off over time. So in addition to the typical rebuilding items, we're going to have some hard parts requirements. This transmission was difficult. This is actually a transmission from a local dealership, and they came up without a whole lot of luck acquiring the unit from Volkswagen. But even with the hard parts requirements, still going to be more economical to rebuild this transmission than to acquire and put in a Volkswagen reman.